Hello, welcome to the F.E.E.L Podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Crook, and I'm here today with your ways to engage for our new episode, Boundaries, Joy, and Daily Intention. Kim Mosiman on choosing yourself every day. The ways to engage are as follows. Look at places you can carve out a bit of extra time, even if it's just 5 to 10 minutes in the morning or before bed. Do something you truly want to do or something you don't think you ever have the time to do. You are worthy of taking time for yourself and fulfilling your passions. And Jessica mentioned this in our blog this week. When you catch yourself scrolling and you're just kind of mindlessly scrolling, stop and take that time instead to do that thing you've been wanting to do. That walk around the block to smell the roses, to be intentional, calling that friend you haven't connected with in a while. Just quiet with no noise. Put your timer on and just sit and breathe. Whatever it is, whatever that thing is, start writing that blog you've been thinking about. Whatever that thing is, take that time for yourself this week. Thanks so much for being with us. We hope you enjoy this episode with our good friend Kim Mosiman. Hello, and welcome to the F.E.E.L Podcast today. I'm here with a friend that, she and I met about 8 or 9 months ago now, but I feel like I've known her my whole life. Like, Kim and I are in a similar season of life, and there's just a lot of things happening that we can connect on. And she's been a really important part of our panel conversations over the last 6 months. So if you've been following those at all, you've met her there, but we're going to get to hear her story today and really about her journey through the framework of our talking points. And I think it's going to even give you even more depth and understanding of how it is she shows up today. These incredible resources that she has created for women, what she's learned out of her own story, the wisdom that she brings, the kindness, the empathy. I'm describing her, but I'll give that. Those are my descriptions for Kim Mosiman. But she describes herself as patient, open-minded, and optimistic. And she understands the nuance of the ability to feel multiple emotions at one time. She understands she can feel, distraught and thankful and gratitude and sadness all within a moment. She's got a life's worth of wisdom that have helped her acknowledge that. And that I call it the layers piece. And she's got a really sound understanding of that. So I think you're going to love what she has to offer us today. Welcome, Kim Mosiman, to the F.E.E.L Podcast.
Thanks. I'm so excited. We've had so many great conversations. I'm just excited to be one-on-one.
Yeah. I know. This is the first time I've gotten you one-on-one. We've done so many panels. So it's fun to have you one-on-one. All right, my friend. This is a big one right now. You got a lot of moving targets happening in your life. You spend part of the year in Florida. You spend another part of the year in the Midwest. So you've made that transition this spring and just a lot of life happening right now. So talk to me about how to prioritize self-care in your life. This has been a journey for you throughout your life. You come from an industry that helps other people do this, but you had to learn a way to do this for yourself that was meaningful and impactful for you and knowing your value within that. So talk to me about that.
Yeah. I think it started, my journey, but
yeah,
when I was approaching 40, I reached that moment where like my kids don't need me anymore. My husband doesn't need me. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had this great job and we made the decision to switch and I just felt crummy. I felt crummy about myself and through exercise and new diet plan and everything, I discovered some passions I didn't know that I had. And we pushed that to the extreme and I ended up opening a business, a small gym where I got to help other men and women find the good in them, find their strengths, change their lives. You have coaches, in the health and wellness industry. And I just really felt like I had found my calling. And I have always been blessed with the opportunity to look at something that somebody else might consider ugly and find the good in it. And a lot of people don't like who they are. And when they would come into the gym and they would work with me, you walk in and you might think, oh, look at this, I've let myself go. But I can see your smile. I can see your eyes. I can see the muscle tone. I can see the improvement every day as we work together. And it was really an empowering point in my life where I identified what I was good at and what I was called to do. And what I was called to do is to be a coach, right? In whatever arena it is, whether it's health and wellness or now I'm working with writers. And it's like God blessed me with the ability to find the good in someone and to pull it out, right?
Yeah.
And the hard thing is trying to use it on yourself, where we may be experts in whatever arena, but it's hard to find it. It's hard to use what you know on yourself.
Yeah. And that became the next part of the journey for you, and so in all of this care, you've learned that you've got to fill your own cup first. And many times for us, that comes kind of the hard way. We get smacked a little bit with that. I know I did. You think you're taking care of yourself, and then you realize there's all these areas you're not addressing. So talk to me about what self-care looks like for you today.
This particular day, it means learning to prioritize myself in so many different ways. Sometimes when I hear someone talk about self-care, it feels like bubble baths and massages, and that's so not what it is at this point in my life when I have grown children and grandchildren and aging parents. Self-care really for me at this point means remembering to pause, remembering to pray, remembering to sleep, and some days remembering to eat. We can get so wrapped up in other people's problems when we're in this middle stage of life that we forget to do the essentials, let alone the things that enhance our lives.
Yeah. I think you've hit it, it's about those little things. Have I eaten? Have I had enough water today? Have I taken in the fresh air? And so I have a question for you. You have a beautiful spot that you spend the winter in, and you were taking these beautiful walks. What do you do when you go home in this, in the spring and summer? How do you feel that in the space you're in now? Because that outside piece, that nature piece, that ocean piece is an integral part of your day to day. So how do you feel that in the Midwest where there's no ocean?
I feel like I've been called out by my accountability coach here. What do I do? Well, I bundle up and I go for a walk. My walks aren't as I really have to push myself, but nature is amazing. It's not. I'm so drawn to the ocean and to sunrise, and I really, when I come back to Iowa at the end of March and everything's gray, and still dead. It's hard, but I just keep, I throw on my tennies and I put on a couple of layers and still walk. And like this morning, we just had an incredible rainstorm last night. And this
so the air
morning
was clear.
It was clear and it was amazing, but somehow that rain, like everything popped and all of the buds are now blooms, and it was the most incredible morning. So I have to remind myself that there is beauty in the little things too, in the green, in the flowers, in the neighbors that I haven't seen for 3 months. So I keep pushing. Yeah.
That's it. I think that's a great point though, is those taking, I live in Fresno, California, and lots of agriculture here. Sometimes the smells aren't great. Sometimes, but
I live in Iowa. I get it.
You understand what I'm saying? We are like the fruit and nut capital of the world. There's also a lot of ranches, all those kinds of things. But every year around this time in April, the orange trees, the orange blossoms come to life. And it is the most intoxicating aroma. I've lived all over the country in all kinds of different floral and fauna. And it is just fabulous. And it helps me to be mindful I get real busy. I get recording, answering emails, guesting, preparing, planning, all these things. And I'm like, step outside and take a smell, take the air in, because you only get this a few weeks out of the year, and it's so magical. So it's such a good, being able to, and when the flowers blossom and the blooms. I mean, we were over visiting my sister-in-law last weekend on the coast, and we realized we'd never visited her in the spring. And we've always been, I don't know why, just never, either summer or winter, never been in the spring. And her backyard was just this eruption of color. And so even just going outside and sitting there with our coffee in the morning and looking around at the color was just, yeah. So I think it's just a good idea of the presence and recognizing where you are. I lived in West Texas for 4 years. I had to really come to appreciate the beauty of the giant blue sky and sunsets, because literally everything else was brown. So
yeah.
I had to really come to appreciate that. And it was very powerful and impactful. So yeah, finding those things right where you are. Thank you for that. Yeah, didn't mean to call you on the carpet. Kim's like, I don't know. It's freezing here.
No,
the spring hasn't hit Iowa yet.
Right. It's a good reflection of where I was. I was in Florida, where spring passed a couple months ago. And it was green and bright and fluorescent, right? The Florida flowers are just like, wow.
So bright. Yeah.
And as we moved through into Georgia and then into the Carolinas and Nashville, it was spring. So it was that pretty soft green and the purples that come, and just the blossoms. And then as we crossed into Missouri, it was like barely
Not
green. And then we moved into Iowa and it was just gray.
And we might have a few more snowstorms before we get some flowers.
It snowed the day that we got home. It snowed. It only lasted for 2 hours, but it snowed.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, okay, God, I got it all 4 seasons in the matter of 24 hours. I got it. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I know. It's so funny when that happens, but you're like, yeah, it brings you back to that thing. Well, thank you for sharing those things, because I think it's important. You really pointed out to just those little moments. Like I said earlier, drink your water, make sure you're eating, pay attention to if you're feeling a little out of sorts, get up, stand around, walk around, move yourself out of, especially when there's a lot happening. You have to, if I know I'm in a really busy mode, I will set a timer to get up every hour. Yes. Isn't that, because otherwise I'll just sink in, and 3 hours later, I'm like, my neck's tight and everything's tensed up and I haven't lifted my head. And remember that too, ladies, especially if you're at a desk all day or you're just really, doing stuff, set that timer and take a few breaths, do some box breathing, walk around your desk just to keep yourself moving. Make sure you've got some water, some food, all those things, those basic tenets. So I say self-care is healthcare. It really is.
Yes.
And I think that we really have, start viewing it that way. All right. Confidently setting boundaries. Again, you got a lot going on. So there's got to be some ways that you find time to protect time for you. And you have created some beautiful resources to do it. I forgot to bring the journal over. It's over on my couch by my coffee cup. You have the most wonderful manual that I have utilized, but you also have your beautiful book that's a year old now.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So congratulations on that. So you have these resources that talk about this, but talk to me about how this works for you personally. You realize this and you created those resources. So how is it that you came to an understanding of the necessity around these healthy boundaries around your time and spaces to pour into you and to track your own wellness?
I hit a bad place before I started taking care of my health. And then after I became the healthiest I've probably ever been as an adult, I made some decisions and closed my gym. And like I told you earlier, my kids were gone. My husband's still working.
Yeah.
I didn't have a purpose. And I kind of hit this slumpy place again.
Yeah.
Where everything fell apart. I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't love myself. I didn't have a relationship with God. I was avoiding social environments. I was avoiding exercise because it's all I'd done for 10 years.
Sure.
I was eating crap because, again, for 10 years, I lived this life of what I now look back on as my attempt at perfection. And that's where Reflections of Joy came from. It's like, we visited a little bit before we started recording. And when someone writes a book called Reflections of Joy, I'm sure that there are people out there who think, oh, here we go, some Pollyanna little woman who thinks that life is perfect and you can find joy in everything and you can find good in everything and blah, 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 blah. And, I had to realize that perfection's never going to exist in this world.
Yeah.
And I am good no matter where I am. Our mutual friend Rachel and I have a lot of conversations about it's not body positivity. It's not surrendering and waving the flag and saying I'm good as I am, right? Because to live a good life, I think that we constantly have to be trying to do better. Trying to love
evolving and
better,
growing, healthier.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. Learning and all the things. Like you should never reach a point in your life where you're just good. I'm good. I'm status quo. But it's okay to love who you are. It's okay to look in the mirror and be happy with yourself. And so many people don't do that. We live in a world that expects perfection, and we live in a world that wants things right now. And the health and wellness industry is so guilty of championing right now. We can get you there in 30 days.
Yeah, the
we can
instant
get you there in 3 months,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
And what we don't realize, or what I didn't realize until I reached this age, is how important it is to be good where your feet are, to be proud of the accomplishments you've made, and to still have goals to move forward. I'm just a different woman than I was when I ran the gym, and I thought everyone can do this. Anyone can do this. You can do anything for 15 minutes. No, you can't. But, no, you can't. But you can do something, and you can strive to be better every day. And I try to live my life. My self-care revolves around trying to be a little better every day. Do something good for yourself. If I want to eat fast food for lunch, okay. I don't do it every day. I do it very rarely.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I've given myself the permissions now.
Yeah.
That's where my self-care is in the permissions to just not beat myself up and to move. Not beat myself up while I'm moving forward. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, yeah, that ability, I think you address the nuance of acknowledging and being good and content, and also knowing that you want to keep moving and learning and growing in a healthy way, to be we all want to be the healthiest version. And you can do both. Like, I think we used to think that I used to be afraid, or I think we came up with this idea that if I don't stay very disciplined and very focused and very hard on myself all the time, that I'll fall off whatever wellness wagon I'm on and I'll fail. We moralize this journey rather than just acknowledging with empathy and nuance. Yes, I want to be the healthiest version of myself. First for me, because I know my value, and also for all of those I'm in relationship and in contact with. I was created, and I want to align with for certain things that are really strengths. I want to align with those. I want to feel in touch with those. And I also know some days are hard. Life is going to life. And I'm also not going to, it's something I really struggled with for years, and I still do, is if I have that treat that I don't feel like I've got to add 4,000 more steps to my day.
Right.
And make up for, and I've even tried to take out calling it a treat, because a treat denotes that you did have to earn something instead of just living my life knowing, you know what? I move my body every day. I'm mindful of getting enough protein and fiber and knowing the importance of that, all the things that it is in my life. I'm not afraid of fats. I'm also going to embrace the memories and enjoy the day and, those kinds of things too. So how do you, in all that you've got going on, how do you create time for this? Because I think sometimes people, they hear the word boundaries and they think of like walling off things. And it's really just about creating time and space and spending it where you feel most aligned. And that starts with carving out time for you. How does that look for you?
Right. If at all possible, I start every day with me. My days go better when I focus on myself from the moment I wake up. And, even though I don't have kids at home, I still have responsibilities to other people. So I can't just set my schedule in stone. Like you said, put up that wall and say, nope, don't talk to me until this time.
Right.
But every morning when I roll out of bed, I write. And I used to discipline myself, and it has to be this many pages or I have to accomplish this thing. And now I just write. There are some days where if I can get a sentence or two on the page, that's okay.
Yeah.
But within that beginning, I don't allow my phone to be present in that time. So I wake up, my phone stays on my dresser. I grab my journal, I make a cup of coffee, and I just try to empty myself. That's not possible for everyone. I'm not working a job outside of the home, and I know that some people struggle with that. But I find when I give myself the first 15 to 45 minutes of every day, that everything else falls into place so much better. The busyness, and I think about the people that I know that try to meditate. And I could never meditate because I would wake up in the morning and I would read some scripture and I would try to meditate or pray. And all that was going on in my head was this ping pong ball or more, not a ping pong ball, but more like a pinball machine,
Yes.
I felt like, it was just like bouncing off of all the things that I had to do or think about or whatever. And I could never focus on the task. Yeah. And now that I dump the first time of the day, then I come right behind it. And my true self-care is I set a timer. No matter how many words I write, no matter what I have to do, I give myself 10 minutes of silent time. And for me, I pray. There are times where I just sit in silence and I try to empty my brain. And it's so much easier, one, with the timer running, and two, if I've cleared the clutter, right?
Yep.
Self-care for me really, truly is in just prioritizing those 10 minutes to be Kim.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that because I think it's something that's doable. But I also love the timer piece because then you're not worried about, oh gosh, I can't go over, I can't do this, I can't do that. And you would be surprised how much that 10 minutes does. I started incorporating 10 minutes of quiet. I don't get it every day, but most days, about 3 years ago, because I, like you, was not a good meditator, like just,
Yep.
But I found when I did the 10 minutes of quiet and I just assigned that, everything naturally settled. I go in a place I'm not going to get distracted or that's soothing to me, depending on the time of year. That might be outside, outdoors, listening to the birds. That might be in my room. I've created some really sanctuary space in our bedroom. It might, so I'm finding that place that I know that's going to be a calming environment. And man, it is amazing what that does for you. It just allows everything to settle. And then if we can go into the day like that, because so many times we rush around, we grab our phones first and we start the day up here on the hypervigilant scale, instead of starting at a level set, like I'm refreshed, I've unloaded, because I am an external processor too. So if I'm not journaling, sometimes I even do a verbal journal where I'll turn on my phone where there's so much to come out that I can't even get it in pen and paper aren't enough, and I'll just bleh. And then I'll go back and listen to it, and I'll write down the things that I feel like I need to sit with a little more. Or maybe it sometimes helps me know what I need from a self-care standpoint. Like, okay, I need to be mindful of that today. Look at my calendar and like, whatever I have coming and where's my bandwidth at? Because I need to have that attention of knowing where my bandwidth's at, or does something need to be moved around in my schedule? I mean, I have the benefit of working for myself now, so I can move things sometimes in a way that I couldn't, a few years ago. But having the freedom to do that and not apologizing for it too, because it's like,
that's the key.
yeah,
That's the hardest thing ever.
mm-hmm.
It's and we wouldn't be having this conversation if we weren't the kind of people who cared about other people, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so it's so easy to get wrapped up in the I shoulds and the I coulds, and this is what I'm scheduled to do. And, I mean, like, it's hard for me to tell someone no,
mm-hmm.
or to send a text that says, there's something going on in my life and I really need to reschedule with you. That kills me.
Mm-hmm.
But as we grow older, I think that's one of the greatest blessings of growing older for me, is the realization that only I am going to care for me.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't do these things, a lot of people suffer. And I'm not, I know there's probably a woman out there who's still got littles at home and all the things going on, right? And I don't have that. And so maybe they're thinking, well, what do you know? Your kids are grown. You're living in the house with your husband alone. You don't get it, right? I do get it, because I still feel this as the kind of woman that I am, and the caretaker that I am, and the empathetic coach that I strive to be.
Mm-hmm.
I still worry when I can't show up and perform. And I think in finding these self-care rituals, like you're saying, the 10 minutes of whether it's silence or speaking or writing or whatever that we do to put ourselves in that level place, that's the key to really living a life of joy when we reach this point. There's so many layers, like you said, in who we are. But if that middle layer, if that whatever, the filling in the middle of the Oreo, if that is not perfect, nothing else works.
Yeah, it doesn't. And that, that's just it. That's when the irritability comes out. And then we end up having to apologize later because we snapped a loved one's head off or whatever it is, just didn't show up the way we would want to in that situation. And it goes back to taking those moments. So mamas out there, we hear you because we've been there. We've had the littles at home in close approximation. And what I would tell you is, if you have a partner, talk to your partner about, I need 10 minutes either in the morning, in the evening, find what, for me. Alrighty, I need 30 to 45. I got to go for a walk. I got to, work that out, or find a neighbor, somebody, other moms are a great support for this too, but finding that time, because I hear all the time from people, I don't have time. I'm like, you do. I'm going to help you find it. I'm telling you, I know with the feeling, I've been there too. You do. You just need some guidance and direction, and you're going to be surprised where you find it in those places that already exist. But it goes back to knowing your own value and knowing that you are worthy of that time and you don't need to apologize for it. And it impacts, and if you need help with that, think about, how do you want people to remember their time with you and how you showed up with them? And that can really be a like, oh yeah, okay, I hear you. So thank you for that. All right. Taking care of our emotional health, mental health, physical health, spiritual health. This is a whole thing. This is all part of your journey. So many things impact these pieces and parts of our health. So talk to me about those connections, about learning to see those connections, and how you have cared for those as you've come to the realization of the impact that they have on each other?
The biggest piece is prioritizing them, like we were talking about, just realizing how important they are.
Yeah.
I think when we're young mothers, young wives, young whatever, young friends, our whole focus is on someone else. And it's only through trial and error and screwing up again and again and again that you reach this point. Almost too late. I feel like
I know,
live
me too.
in reverse, right?
I know. Same. I've like go back to my daughters now and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I would have known this 15 years ago, we could have avoided a few bumps. But learn from me now and do better than I did.
Right. Live in reverse if I could. Everything is so hinged on the other thing. Yeah. And we don't allow ourselves to connect the dots. So for me, when I was super busy, I let my spiritual life go because I just didn't have time. I didn't have time to pray. I didn't have time to sit and read my Bible. I didn't have time to go to church. I was doing the things.
Yeah.
And my physical health, when I was busy chasing the kids, I was sitting in a car waiting for the carpool when I could have been out walking where the kids were inside exercising. So I've tried to connect the dots and to bring my life into a realization that these pieces of my health don't have to be separate.
Yeah. Right? They can all feed off of each other.
They can feed off of each other and they can happen simultaneously. So like for me, when I go for a walk in the morning, I don't put my earbuds in. I don't listen to podcasts. I don't listen to music. I don't listen to books on tape. It's not my thing. It's my time to devote I'm exercising my body and I'm doing the good things for it, but that's my time with God. And that's important to me.
Sure.
For someone else, it might be brainstorming. It might be talk time for them. It might be learning time, whatever. But I put those two together. Every time I walk, I do so in silence. So I feel like I'm prioritizing my spiritual life when I'm taking care of my body. Spiritual, emotional. I used to think that it wasn't okay to honor my feelings. There's so many things that I left unspoken when I was younger because I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. When in reality, if I were to take a step back and I were to process what I was feeling so that my conversation with you, was started at a level playing field. I'm not mad at you. You're not mad at me, whatever. But if I would have honored time and been patient when I was younger and had the hard conversations that I needed to have at the appropriate moment, all of the grief and all of the hurt and all of the things that we could avoid. But so many of us come out of people pleasing, parent pleasing childhoods, right? Where nice girls don't say that. And we keep those things to ourselves and we don't want to cause trouble. I've tried to learn to be true to myself without being offensive to someone else. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think there's a way to do that. And I think it just comes from honest communication. I mean, I think we can be, and I think you hit it on the nose where you came up with this when we all got it. And whether it's in the culture, I mean, it's just narratives that you get as little girls about don't be too loud, don't cause trouble, make sure everyone else is taken care of, don't be the square peg in the circle, don't be a disruptor. And then all of a sudden you get to a point in life where you're just like, this storing all of that and carrying all of that doesn't serve us anymore. And we realize that all these things are boiling up inside us. And I'm like, why do I feel so discontent? Why do I feel so angry? Why does that set me off? And you have to start unpacking all those unprocessed things. And the communication is such a key component of this because you can say a lot of things a lot of ways. And if you store too many things up and they come exploding out, you might have communicated it, but boy, it doesn't come out pretty and it can cause even more trouble. Whereas if you just, all right, this is going to be hard, but we've got to have this conversation because this is heavy on my mind. I care about this relationship. And also, this is, if I don't do something about this, it's going to inhibit me and possibly this relationship moving forward. I'm learning in my 50s about emotional intelligence and when I need to say, okay, this conversation's gotten to a point where I need a timeout. I'm feeling overstimulated. I need to take a step back. Can we come back to this tomorrow at noon or in 30 minutes or whatever it is? Like learning to communicate that and say that, because I will tell you, in my family, there are some of the most passive aggressive individuals I've ever seen in my life. And it's all born out of this feeling like they can't say what needs to be said. And it just like drives me crazy. I will be like, say what you mean. I see through all of that. Just say what you mean. But we have to unlearn all of that. And I think too, just realizing the nuance, like I can feel multiple things at one time and they can all be true. And none is more or less important than the other. And so it's okay. And when it feels overwhelming, I can write it down and I can figure out, what do I have time to process right now? What do I need to make a note for and put a bookmark in for later? But not feeling bad about it and getting curious. I've had to learn, people hear me talk about this all the time, but it's been a key for me, get curious rather than judgmental about these things that are coming up and address them in the moment, because folks, you're not going to like how they come out later if you don't.
Right. But so many people, Melissa, I feel like you were sitting on my shoulder as I was journaling this morning, because so much of this is relative to my experience right now. But I feel like we live in such a world of negativity.
Yeah.
And once a person finds that place where they're mad, they're stuck, right?
And that's the only emotion they allow themselves to live in. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly. Sure. And it's like in this place, I can be mad, but that shouldn't ruin my whole day.
Right.
I can be with someone and receive a diagnosis, but that doesn't mean that we start planning the funeral. Right. There's so many opportunities in life that if I know people that are going through periods of grief right now and they can't let it go. And so everything is shadowed by that grief.
Yeah.
I can't live like that. And I'm thankful that God made me the person that I am, so that even when I'm just royally teed off, right? I can walk outside, and if my neighbor just mowed the grass, I can still okay, there's something to bring me back to me. Yeah. And people,
I think we've lost the art form. We allow ourselves, and I did that for many years. I think it comes from a disassociation piece. We don't like uncomfortable feelings. Right. And so we find ways to deal with them that usually aren't very healthy, rather than just sitting with, you know what, this is really hard. I cannot stay at this space. This is not sustainable. It's not healthy for me. It's going to have other impacts in other parts of my life. So what do I need to do for me to help myself not push this away? I need to acknowledge it, but create some spaces where I can move it through, find acknowledgement, find acceptance, make it, and not, when the tears come, invite them, let them, but also be grateful that I can. Like, you can be grateful. Again, I've said this 1,000 times, but the nuance, I can allow myself to be like, you know what? I'm grateful that I now have the freedom to just let these tears flow and let this grief happen in me and sit with it. And also and know that because of this grief means I love greatly. And that
Right.
had incredible impact on me.
Mm-hmm. I think about how many times as a child that I heard the words, "That's not anything to cry about. There's no reason why,"
Yes.
you know,
Yes. What are you
and
crying for? I always got asked, what am I crying about?
right,
I don't know.
right. But,
I'm
but
five.
I'm here to tell you within the last week, I've heard those words, and said, I have no control over my tears, nor should I try to
Yeah.
control my tears. This is
Right.
part of living. And I just finding that place where you can live unafraid to be who you are and what you feel is incredible.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think we spend a lot of time worrying about what other people's responses or reactions are going to be if they see us in that moment. And so because we don't want to make them uncomfortable, we will hold things back. And instead of just, I've got, because I think we all heard that. I'm like, what's up? Why are you crying? No, I'm not really sure right now, but it came to me and I'm going to let it flow because I spent a lot of years holding back tears. And I think finally my nervous system, my therapist and I have talked about it. She's like, some of it's hormones. Yeah. I mean, but
Right,
a lot of it is just feeling safe enough to release those things and let them go. And I don't apologize for those things anymore. And if I'm in a room where it might bring up some conversations I'm not ready for, I'll just walk in the other room and let it flow. But I no longer try to stop it because you have to be aware of your surroundings too. There are people that are in your lives that just aren't in the space and place. And it's easier sometimes just to walk out of the room and let yourself have the moment you need to have. And then go back in the space. And we have to be aware of that as well. But also say, stop disassociating. And then don't believe the idea that emotions are bad. Emotions are clues. If those tears are coming right now, that's a clue. My body needs to release something. If I'm feeling angry right now, that's a clue. What am I angry about? What can I do about it? What things are in my control? And what maybe I just need to take a pillow and go bang against that brick wall for a while and release this from my body. I mean, whatever it is. But also leaving room for all of it, but not letting that one thing, and I was guilty of this for years, that one thing just rue my day. And that's the emotion. And by God, watch out, everybody, because that's where I'm at, rather than, and not allowing space for anything else. But it's so much, the media is so driven by that snap next hot take instead of just the joy in the moment. Like I think we have to really monitor who we surround ourselves with. It was a lot of my healthy boundaries around who and what I surround myself with, how much time I allow certain information, news feeds, what I follow into my space. And what is beyond my capacity. My husband has a higher capacity for some of this intake right now than I do. If he's wants more capacity, I just go into the other room or I go for a walk outside. I don't ask him to stop doing what he's doing. And then if he asks me, where are you going? I'm like, I've reached my maximum outtake. When you're done, or if it's not that important to him and he wants me to stay in the room, then he'll turn it off and change something. But I'm like, I have to find a place where I can live and stay level and stay focused and stay aware, stay present, not disassociate. But it takes, and I think, we could talk about this obviously forever, but that's really where those healthy boundaries, mindfulness, emotional, mental, physical health, pay attention to your body, how you're feeling, where's your tension at, all those things.
Well, and that's why I'm such a huge proponent of journaling. You and I have talked. I mean, my owner's manual, when I created that out of need for me. I write every day, but there's so often where like we go to the doctor or we go to our therapist or we go to our pastor and we're like, gosh, I just don't know what's going on, but I don't feel like me. I feel crummy. And then you go through this whole barrage of, well, when's the last time you did this? Or when's the last time you did that? And in the midst of life, we don't know those things.
Right.
And that's when I started writing down. I started writing everything down like while I was in perimenopause and my
Yeah.
body was betraying me something fierce. And along with it came the emotions and all of the things, right? And I just felt so awful. And
Yeah.
I recorded everything. But we can't be afraid. I think you need knowledge about where you are and what's setting you off. And like right now, I live a similar life. My husband can take in so much more than I can.
Mm-hmm.
And like when he sits down at the kitchen table and he says, "Hey, Alexa, turn on the news," I just like feel a shudder up my spine because I'm not there, right? I don't want to hear it. And I don't care who's offering it. I don't want to hear it
Yeah.
because I'm not there in my day, right? I
Right.
want to live the life I want to live without this influence that might mess it up. And so but there's a lot of times where it's not my right. I can't say to him, "Turn that off," because so I go for a walk or I'll go in the other room and grab my earbuds, and put
Mm-hmm.
on some music that cancels everything out. And then I'll write what I'm feeling.
Mm.
There's so many things that come out of this: anxiety, depression,
Yeah.
annoyance with your spouse, all the things,
Mm-hmm.
right? And some of it
Yeah.
can just be tied back to acknowledging how you're feeling and
Yeah.
working to set those things either aside for a little while
Mm-hmm.
or addressing them head on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a
No,
powerful tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a powerful tool. And I love what you said too. Like, when you go to the doctor and you've got that thing that's been nagging at you, when you're writing down little things like writing down, okay, I noticed this triggers it. I know. And then you can go in and tell them, this is the pattern I'm seeing, rather than, I don't know, it's just been coming up. I can't remember. I don't know. Write that down, whatever that is, that headache, that stomach, that acid reflux, that pain in my knee. I mean, whatever it is, this anxiousness that comes up. That's something that really has served me too, is like having a record of, when I go to my appointments and I'm like, okay, I talked to you about this a couple months ago. I've been keeping track of things and I've noticed this food or this activity or this too much of this, news intake, not enough sleep, whatever it is seems to be aggravating, and it helps them help you. So it's a powerful tool, not only for yourself to know how to take care of you, but also your practitioners too, whether it's your PCP, your therapist, your dentist, whatever it is. It's such a power. Yeah. Yeah. And staying present, and instead of pushing away the uncomfortable things, sit with them, write about them. Let's try to find a pattern here so we can not continue to carry that, because it's all part of that, again, that emotional, mental, physical, spiritual health piece. Okay. All right. This leads nicely into how we can support ourselves and other women in living unapologetically. You do this. You do this so well, and you do it in such a way that's authentic to you. At what point did you decide, and I know the answer to this, but our audience doesn't know the answer to this. At what point did you decide it was time for these resources to not only be of service to you, but like I can support other people with these resources too, through my work, through reflection? I mean, you did it for years when you had your gym, but then you had to discover new ways of doing that. And you really learned the importance. I always introduce y'all by your character traits rather than by what you do. You came to understand that I need to find out who I am as a person, and not by these roles and these responsibilities that I've inhabited. And Reflections of Joy, I feel like, really helped you get in touch with that. And I want to go back. That reflections piece, I think, is such an important part of the title, because that's what it is. It is a reflection. It is not a toxic positivity, never acknowledge the hard things. It is a reflections of where we can find joy in the simple everyday moments, where we can find joy and contentment in the storms that life brings us. And then through this writing process and getting in touch this way, you were also to create this wonderful owner's manual. But what led you to that next step of like, I think this is how I can show up for people?
I was having a lot of conversations. It started in the gym, and the realization that how many of us as women just don't like who we've become because we're different. We feel betrayed by our bodies. We feel betrayed by our hormones. We feel betrayed by our families because they don't just understand what we need, all the things. And when I ran the gym and I was working with people, I was really at the height of my health and my fitness and body image. Everything was spot on. And I'm 40 years old and perimenopausal and like pre-menopausal.
Yeah.
It hadn't started yet. And so I'm at what I consider to be the moment in time where everything was clicking on all cylinders, right? And God gave me the opportunity to interact with women who were genetically different than I was, maybe younger, but had not been given the same makeup as me. They struggled to lose weight or struggled to do things. Older women who were having hormonal issues. And it just really brought me to a place where I realized how much we need to find within ourselves the goodness. And we don't see it, but it's there every day.
Yeah.
I didn't see it in myself then, right? I just exercised hard and ate perfectly in my own mind, and it worked. It worked. But then I reached that point where my hormones were betraying me, and I was sick of work, and so I didn't stick around to exercise. And I still ate the way I was supposed to because I was afraid to buy bad groceries because somebody might see me. But I was still having a couple glasses of wine at night and all the things. And it all compounded, and my life, I reached that point where I too looked in the mirror and I didn't love who I saw. And I woke up and my body ached and I felt betrayed and just all the things.
Yeah.
And I really hit a low point after I closed the gym and my husband wasn't home during the day. My boys were at college or off living their own lives, and I had no purpose. And I could have chosen to just throw the towel in and continue down a bad road, or get it out. And I'm a get it out kind of person. My husband will tell you that I could argue until the sun goes down. But rather than argue or make anyone else's life uncomfortable, I wrote. I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. And one day I turned that page, right? And at the top of the page, it said, "You were altogether wonderful, my love. There is no flaw in you," from the Song of Solomon. And it was the right words printed on the right page that hit me on the right day because I listened to it. And it's not like I had a hallelujah, I'm saved moment.
Yeah.
But I had a moment where it caught my breath and I thought, oh my God, look at what you're doing to yourself. And you have become everyone who counted on you and everyone who trusted you to love them and to find the good in them, right? I became that person who needed someone to say, hey, look, this is okay. And you can start again and you can do your thing. And it's been a continuous journey since then. But as I talk to my girlfriends and as I talk to people on podcasts and I say, as I've met, as my circle has grown, right? When I thought I was going to be all by myself again because the gym was gone, the kids were gone, everything was gone, I started expanding that. So many of us feel that way. And so many of us just need a friend to say, hey, stop. Your gut may be mushy, but you got great legs. That one person, how good you feel when you're walking down the street and somebody looks at you and says, wow, you look amazing today. Everybody needs that girlfriend. And I tried to be that girlfriend in the book. And I tried to just say, hey, I get it. I know you feel overweight, but look at what you can do. I know that this is out of whack, but look at, try this. I feel like we always need that girlfriend. And when we're young, we're all in competition.
Yeah.
When we're in our motherhood years or whatever, our middle years, we're all just so busy. We don't take the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we reach this point and our careers are changing. And then our whole purpose is flushed. And because everybody else has moved on, and what are we left with except everything we don't like about ourselves?
Yeah.
And in the midst of everything we don't like about ourselves, there is so much good. And so time and time again, I say, and we've talked about this, I don't know, maybe 100 times that you and I have met together. Find the good, find the one thing. And if you can't find the thing, you should look at your very best friend and you should say, what do you like about me? Because there's something that you're not finding in yourself.
Yeah.
And that was the whole spark. It was the whole spark. It's like, we're making it too hard. It's not this hard. Move your body, eat good food, have good friends, pray, or have quiet time if you don't believe. Drink water, get sleep. Just learn new things. Just keep going.
Yes.
And
that keep going.
Just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't throw in the towel, keep going, because too many times we see people lose hope and throw in the towel. And it's like, that's why we do what we do. You and I are both motivated. We show up in our own ways, but we're both motivated. Like, we've got some tools here and you can live the healthiest, most authentic life you were created for. And that can start now. And it doesn't matter if you're 22 or 82. Wherever or anywhere in between. Let's do that. Let's find that. Let's live in that moment. Let's be present with these days we have. Let's see the value that we were created with and get our lives in alignment with that and with people who see that in us. But sometimes you just need that little nudge, that little spark, that little thing. And you've talked about this before too. And I think about, okay, if you wouldn't say it to your girlfriend, to your daughter, to your best friend, to your coworker, then you ought not be saying it to yourself. And that can be a really daunting, oh, okay, I need to really mind my chatter, my inner chatter and the framework in which I'm seeing myself through. You also now too, not only do you have these books in this journal, but you're now through your writing have found that you can help other writers too. So you continue to grow and evolve and learn about yourself and find these new exciting ways that you can show up in your life and show up for people that it's in alignment with your soul and also as a service to others. And I think that's such a, beautiful example of, I think for both, we've had these other moments throughout our lives, but now we're in this new creative space that I would have never imagined I'd be in 10, 15 years ago. But here I am. I mean, really living my most authentic life. It's not easy. Life keeps lifing, like I say, but I've got these resources and these frameworks and these tools, and so do you. And I think that's what draws us to each other. And then when you have that and it's possible, you're like, come on, ladies, let's do this. You can do this too. This is possible for you. And so I think that's just such the motivation too.
I know. And I just keep telling people, just keep doing, just keep learning. And think of all the people that you know today that there's no reason, you have no reason to know them except you've started this, a podcast or the network. The same for me. I met these amazing people in my writing cohort. And now every month I meet new people. I have some of the best friends and some of the most incredible women that I now can call friend. And there's no reason why I should know them. I mean, you and I have never stood side by side anywhere
I know.
To have a conversation. And yet that we have this connection. And the world has gotten smaller. And that can be a scary thing, but it can also be so good. We're at a stage where if you don't have to go to a 9 to 5, I could either sit upstairs and read books and drink wine all day, or else I could be meeting exciting new people and providing for my family and growing as a person.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
It really is. It really is. And I think it's just seeing yourself in it, seeing the value in yourself to want to invest in that. But also, again, going back to not just about investing in yourself, but also how investing in those relationships and what do you want your life to look like? I think sometimes we get busy and we stop being able to see the choice that we have within our lives. And it's so getting back to where we see the choices is so important too, which this goes nicely into the importance of coming back to your why and your values and everything you do. That you found out early, early-ish. I consider 30s and 40 early now that I'm 55.
Yeah,
but,
right.
You recognize within yourself that coaching piece, and that can show up in so many different ways. And so that has stayed a core part of your why and your values in aligning your life with the things you do next. Talk to me about your journey to discovering that piece of yourself and how that's helped inform you since you've been able to really, really identify that.
I just shared my conversation with someone who I'm working with to launch her book right now. And she is big about, she's releasing a book about identifying where God is in your story along the way. And I sat in her podcast and we talked a little bit, and she always starts at the beginning. And where did you discover who you were and what you were called to do? Right. And I had never thought about it this way, but I always wanted to be a mom. And I became a mom early, and my first son was born just a year after my first anniversary, and I was 21. And, that's like maximum coaching, right? Once you have a kid. And, but it's not until we look back on it when we realize what our skill set was. But, then as I worked, I managed in restaurants and I ran the gym and I did all the things. And I just think all along, I've always been able to see the best in a person and try to pull the best from each person.
Yeah.
I'm a team worker. I don't like top-down management. I suppose servant leader would be. And yeah, I think it's just been there all along, but it didn't smack me in the face until I was in my 50s.
Yeah.
And even the gym, that was just me wanting to be healthy, wanting me to do something.
Sure. Quite
frankly, wanting to wear cute tennis shoes and work out with people all day long, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like I had always worked at this intentional job where I had to get up, get dressed, go to work, do the thing, clock out. And the gym felt like freedom because it was working out. It was having fun. It was good music. It was good people. It was work. It was from 3:30 in the morning until 7:00 at night. But it felt like fun.
Yeah. Energized you.
But then, on the backside, as I look and as I really start focusing on what is it that you want to do with the rest of your life? The answer's been there all along.
Yeah.
I think once we find the quiet time and we can sit with ourselves and not only say, what am I good at, but what brings me joy? And how can I make that a part of what I do every day?
Yeah.
There is nothing more incredible than whether you're face to face with a person or whether you're sitting across a Zoom screen, listening to someone and seeing the light bulb go off when they realize that they've held the answer to their situation or their problem or their joy or their life all along. Yeah, I think it's always been there, but I don't think that it hit until late in life. And I'm thankful that it did. I have a choice every day whether or not I want to work, and that I know that that's a true blessing because there are a lot of people who don't have that choice.
Yeah, for sure.
once you figure out what you're good at and what you, not only what you're good at, but what you enjoy, it makes all the difference.
I think so. I think I'm glad you made that distinction, because I think there's a lot of things people are good at, but that maybe they don't find the joy in. And so and I love this and I love talking to women about this now. And I work with a group of college students here at Fresno State. And the biggest joy I get is giving them this framework now. Ask yourself these questions now. Don't wait until you bump into something later that kind of forces it out of you, or you hit some kind of life crises or real, point where you're just like, I don't know where I am. It's like, take this framework now, ask yourself these questions, pay attention to when things start feeling out of sorts, so you can go back and revisit that. Where am I out of alignment? What's shifted? Because also, you and I have been through, different seasons and different spaces already. So these things are going to change over time. But if we know what that core thing is, we can find our way back home and meet it where we are in that season. But I love let's get you this framework now so that you have it in front of you, and you're going to you're going to get off track. Life's going to get busy. It's going to get hectic, but you taking that time to sit with yourself, those quiet moments, like you said, allowing yourself space for things to come up for you so that you can address it. But also, if you're listening and you're, 40, 50, 60, 70, sit with yourself now. Start asking sit with yourself now, get those things in alignment. Start with those activities that nourish you. Start with how you want to feel the next 6 months. Identify those character traits in you and use that as a kickoff point to get honed in on, okay, now that I know these things about myself, I can make sure my why, my values, my expectations, my boundaries, my self-care, how I communicate this to people is all in tune with each other. But it's just allowing ourselves the space to put the pieces together.
Yep. And if you're young and you're sitting there and you're thinking, this is unrealistic for me, put yourself in the position. Like you said, put all the pieces of the pie in place in yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Good care, keep learning, keep growing, keep your ears open, and create relationships with people where the opportunity might come sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
I remember being 20 with little kids and strapped to a mortgage payment, and I had to keep my job. I didn't have the luxury to just decide, I don't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. Right. But if you stay in touch and you stay in groups and you keep good community of women, whether it's a book club or, friends at your current job or a church group or where you work out, whatever it is, but just keep moving towards what your dream is. Mm-hmm. It can't always happen today, but it can surely happen, right?
Right.
And but if you're not looking for it and you're not prepared for it when it comes, it's never going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And staying open. And boy, that girlfriend's piece, I tell you, that is such an important integral piece of keeping those things intact and having those core people that you can pour into, that can pour into you, that keep you accountable. I mean, and that just, they're just on the journey with you, that are there to help remind you when you forget. That's such a powerful piece. And so many times when we get busy with the job and the kids and the partner and the home, sometimes those are the first things to go. And some of the women I know that are the most content, they have a very powerful group of women that continue to be. And that doesn't mean their life does not throw them curveballs, not at all. But they've got that force around them and with them to support them through it. I'm so glad you brought that up. Thank you so much for that. All right. We've talked about this before, and, we both have grown children now. And it's you have to adjust to being a parent to grown adults and learning and figuring out how we need each other in different ways. And so and also realizing that just like they were different kids and you didn't parent them exactly the same way as kids. You also had to figure that out as they're adults. And if they have partners and if they marry, I mean, all these things come into play. But I don't think we talk a lot about raising the kids, but we don't talk a lot about, oh yeah, there's that whole after thing too. And we're part of this sandwich generation where we've got the kids, the grandkids, but we also have aging parents. I mean, my husband and I went through it with his parents a few years ago where we had a space in time from about 2017, 18 to 2023, where we were just in the thick of it with his mom and dad. And in 2023, we lost both of them in a 5-month period. And the one we expected and the other one we did not. But within all that, we're still managing all the other things, our lives, our jobs, growing kids, and trying to find space to breathe within all of that. And this is where I found the living out of our own expectations piece became very, very important, that we continue. I just had a conversation with my oldest daughter a couple of weeks ago where we had offered to donate to her nonprofit. And she came back and said, you know what? I appreciate the heart of that. Does it work for you if that money goes here and supports me in a different way? Or do you feel really like you need the write-off and you really like, can we talk about my expectations of how you show up to support me versus what you think might be supportive? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And we laughed about the fact that we're starting to figure out those conversations. And instead of just assuming, oh, she'll like this will be helpful, having a conversation about that. Even as we spend holidays together, okay, how much time with all of us in one space together and all of our partners is enough time, too much time? We've got extroverts, we've got introverts, we've got a lot of Virgos in our family. How much can we all, and having those, but I have found that became, when we were managing my in-laws' care, most of us lived far away. So there was a ton of communication that was necessary about expectations of rotating calendars on who would show up, how. And so many times we don't communicate expectations, or we live according to what we think others expect of us. And we find ourselves frustrated and irritated. And why can't they read my mind? Or and so we've had to kind of learn. So talk to me about setting all that up for you, your expectations journey and how that's evolved for you.
I'm in the midst of this. So it's a great question. My expectation was always that life would be the same for me as it was for my mom. Like for not just my mom, but like my elders, right? I expected, I had an incredible relationship with my grandparents. And so I expected once I became a grandparent, like everything would be the same. And I think we tried to become the good things that we see as we're growing up, right? So,
right.
I live near my grandparents. I live near my aunts and uncles. Everything we did, every holiday, the whole family was together, right? And it was mom's family one day, and the next day was dad's family. And then even after my grandparents passed, it stayed that way. My parents have 5 children. We all live within 30 minutes of one another. So you gather, right? And you gather your children and whatever. And now I'm living in this different place. My expectations were that I would always be surrounded, and I would always have a house full, and I would do all of the things. And I have a son who lives a 23-hour drive from me, and they work jobs that don't just allow them to drop everything and come back home for the holidays. It's been difficult because I go from having expectations to then feeling guilty because I'm putting pressures on these other people in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I quit pressuring them, then I sit and I swallow this anger because nobody gets what I need from them, right? And so
Yeah.
you can just turn into this smoldering ball of yuck, and no one wants to be around you in the first place because you're trying to control everything and you're just not nice to be with when they finally give you what they want or what you want. And
Yeah.
it's just the hardest thing. I sat and cried the very first time that I celebrated Christmas, and I didn't have my boys with me. But my boys
Mm-hmm.
are married and they have wives who want to be with their family too, and I can't have everything. And so
Mm-hmm.
I have reached this lovely place with my husband where I'm content to be with my people when my people can be with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have had to let go of expectations that
Yeah.
it's all going to be, it's a wonderful life. Or, like the Christmas that I grew up
Mm-hmm.
with, or the Easter I grew up with, and
Yeah.
all the things. And so I try to find joy in the moments when we can all be together.
Mm-hmm.
Spring, we were in Florida, and one son lives in Florida, and the others came down for spring break. It
Mm.
was the first time we had been all together for a year. And it's in
Yeah.
the middle of March in a restaurant in Florida. It's okay because
Mm-hmm.
I had all of my people around the table and we laughed and we had a good time. And do I care if there was a Christmas tree or an Easter lily on the table or whatever the case may be? No, because I had my people. And so
Yeah.
it's not that my expectations that I've lowered them, but they've changed. If I can have my people
Yeah.
together, I don't care when it is. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's so hard, but I find myself as a daughter, right? Thinking all the times
Yeah.
that I left my mom hanging and didn't go see her or didn't spend time with her, and how she went through the same thing and she didn't beat me up, right? She just
Yeah.
let me live
Yeah.
my life and figure it out. And so now we try to spend as much time as we can with her too, because my parents are still here. And,
Yeah.
but I know that that time is fleeting.
Yeah. 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 Thank you for all of that. It is such an interesting balance. I was a guest a couple months ago on a guy who he and his wife are in their 60s now, and he's literally started a podcast about parenting adult children. And it's built all around about how learning to show up for them now, and knowing those lines of, okay, we've raised them, this was the case then, but now we have to adjust. So how can we still show up in a way that best supports them, that we don't get, that we communicate, and he's created an entire podcast. It's done very well because I think this is a part of the conversation that we don't have until all of a sudden we're in it. Like, I remember the first time Sierra and my oldest, had a conversation about in-laws. And she's like, Mom, I just feel like we don't talk about this. I'm like, what do you need? Let's talk about it. I go, well, it's very interesting because every in-law situation is different. And how you connect, with your parents versus your in-laws is going to depend a lot on your partner's lead and how they connect with them. And so figuring that out, that balance and what works and what doesn't, and working that out with your partner. She's like, I feel like this should be a whole chapter on in-laws and about. And I'm like, you are right. And so we had a whole conversation and talked about that. And because her family dynamic is very different than her husband's family dynamic. And so, finding the balance within that. Our middle daughter is going to be getting married in the next year and a half. And, there's that family, balancing that family dynamic because both sides of the family are very close. And so working all of that out and just in being able to hold things loosely. I mean, my husband and I've spent the last 2 Thanksgivings, it's just worked out that with everybody's, like you said, work schedules and holidays and when they can take time off, the last 2 Thanksgivings have just been the 2 of us. And I had to learn to get okay with that because Thanksgiving weekend is when we get the tree and we decorate the tree and like all of those things. And now we've been fortunate that Christmases have pretty much all been together. That's worked out for us. That will change a little bit when Kylie gets married, because there's going to be probably more of that every other year thing going on, whereas there's not that with my oldest daughter and her husband. But yeah, it's just that getting used to those expectations that you always had around what it would look like. And just like you said, now so for instance, we will go on a trip in mid-September. My husband has this goal of hitting all the ballparks across the country. He's only got 2 left. He's got Minnesota and Kansas City. So we will, and this has been something he's been working on their whole life. Like ever since they were little kids, he started figuring out he wanted to knock these off. So the kids will meet us in Minneapolis in mid-September, and they will do the last 2 ballparks with us over a 3-day period. It'll be a quick trip, but that's where we're getting, so that'll be our next, unless we may end up seeing them this summer. We haven't figured that out yet with all the moving parts, because they're all over the country. So it's exactly what you said, but it's also the communication piece of, I could just be frustrated, or I could be like, okay, let me know. Like I stated to them a year in advance last year, I would like everybody here at our home for Christmas. We've done a lot of traveling to you over the last few years. We have a home now in an area you all can get to pretty easily. What does that look like? And in realizing that it was something I needed to communicate a year out, so they could all look at their work schedules and their family schedules. And it worked out. And everybody came in, and my sister-in-laws came, and it was great. But just those things that take more planning, not to assume something's just going to be the way you thought it would be.
Well, yeah. And if you don't bring it up and you don't talk about it, then you're just going to sit in your own
my gosh,
frustration and sadness, right?
Yeah.
Because it would be very easy to think, oh, I just don't matter. But that's not the case.
No.
It's just not. And so I love that. I love the idea of a vacation. One of my daughter-in-laws, she's one of 4 kids, and they live all over the country. And so, they plan a trip each every year. One of them gets to choose where they're going to go, and all siblings and their mom, fly in, and they spend that long weekend together.
Yeah.
Because maybe somebody's not going to make Christmas. Maybe someone's not going to make Thanksgiving. And I just think it's a nice way to take the pressure off everyone, so that when you do spend time together, you have a great time together.
Yes. It's not like what we talked about earlier, where there's this overhang of animosity or frustration. You're meeting each other at level. You can just enjoy that time together. All right. Thank you for going on that trail with me. But I knew that this is something we don't talk about. And this is something you and I are both going through. And I feel like it's like we get them raised, and then we don't talk about the after and all that comes with that. And there's more to the story in finding your way through that. Okay. Accepting the layered aspects of ourselves. We've really been talking about this whole conversation. You and I have both done our own layers work. We have had to come to, I think, a reconciliation with our bodies. I had to stop seeing my body as being against me and start realizing she was actually for me, trying to send me clues of what needed her attention. So I really had to flip the script on that and really had to change my inner dialogue in this layers piece. But I feel like this layers piece is so foundational to the rest of it, because when you know your value, you can acknowledge, you don't have to love all your layers, but getting curious and having an acknowledgement, then that allows you to see the value, see the beauty, and be able to prioritize accordingly, because that value that's inherent in you. And you've been on that journey too. So talk to me about just the layers journey and how that's helped inform you.
There's so many things that no one taught us. Yeah. And so many things we had to stumble on and struggle with to reach a point where we can accept who we are in all of our layers, in every aspect of who we are. And it's like if I had a little wheel and there were spokes in there, and I got to mark off each of my layers, emotional, spiritual, physical, emotional, cultural community, my community involvement or whatever, my friends, nothing's ever going to be firing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that was the important piece for me in learning to love who I am and to be happy with Kim at 57 years old, the way that I am. Everything's not going to be perfect at any one point in time. There might be a 10-minute moment where I'm thinking, wow, waiting for the ball to drop. But there's never that moment where I don't have something that I wish were better in my life.
Sure.
And acknowledging that we can still have goals and we can still have a place to work towards, but still really loving where we are today and whatever it is. Like there's nothing better in my life than when my marriage is like on point, where we're communicating well, we're in touch with one another, we're having good conversations, but it's so easy to forget that piece of my life because something else is off. Right. Yeah. And so I guess for me, the layers piece is just in acknowledging that I need to appreciate the things that are going really well right now, whatever that is at the moment. And not beating up the things that the piece of the pie that's not going so well.
Yeah.
Working on it, talking through it, praying for it, working towards it, whatever it is.
Sure.
Kim's never going to be, I'm never going to, on this earth, I'm never going to be perfect. And, but there's a lot of good in me and there's a lot of potential in me. So.
Yeah, I love that. I think too, that releasing the perfection takes so much pressure off of you. And I don't think we realize how much of that, how heavy that is until we release it. I mean, when I was really, truly able to release it, and listen, I still struggle. Like it's a journey and it will continue to be a journey. But that acknowledgement, and when I was able to really it was like, oh my gosh, that was like a 20-pound potato bag I was carrying on my shoulders that I didn't even fully understand until I released it. So taking the pressure off that and just, again, I think it goes back to that emotions piece we were talking about earlier, is there's going to be multiple things happening at one time, and not letting one. And now, the thing about layers is there's some of those things might take more of your energy. Like you're going to have seasons where some of those harder things are going to take more of your energy, but make sure that you're incorporating and allowing the other things to breathe and have life too, so it doesn't become overwhelming and you still feel like you can find your way in it.
Yep. And don't drop the ball on one thing just because another is screaming for more attention. Right? If you have a good fitness plan in place and you eat a certain way and you go through these rhythms, you're going to church or you're going to a book club and hanging with your friends. And then all of a sudden your mom gets really sick and they need your time, or your kids need you to come and care for their child for whatever reason. And you have this major disruption in your life. It's okay to set the other things aside for a moment. But when you've got something that's working for you and that brings you joy and it's become who you are, and you don't even have to think about it, right? You just get up in the morning, you put on your tent, you go for a run. You can do that anywhere. And just because mom is sick or because you need to babysit doesn't mean that you should set it aside and give it up. Right. That's where I think so many of us think, oh, this needs all of my attention. And no, it doesn't. If a thing is who you are and it's a piece of you, and if you work hard to make it a piece of you, it can stick through and it can carry you through, and it can make the hard thing not so hard.
That's it right there. You nailed it. If you need to show up with more energy, then you're going to need the energy to show up well. And so don't let those things go that fill your cup, because they're more essential than ever right now. I'm so glad you hit on that. I'm so glad you did, because and that it comes back to our layers. It comes back to knowing our value. It comes back to needing the energy that you want to be able to give to whatever this situation is. You don't put those things on the back burner. And we're not talking about missing them for a couple of days, but if you're in a longer engaged thing that's going to need months or even a few years of your intention, you got to make sure you're energized and ready and are tapping into those other parts of your life that work so well for you, so you don't become engulfed by this one thing. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So important. So important. Thank you so much for that. In summary, in living out F.E.E.L, finding empowerment, embracing layers, which is what we've been talking about and what you do so beautifully, talk to me about the impact that has had on your relationship with yourself, as well as your relationship with other people.
My relationship with myself is better than it's ever been in my whole life. And it's in simply allowing myself to be who I am and to be proud of who I am. I'm not settling, right? I have gifts that are different than yours. And it's in acknowledging those and feeding them in a way that they can grow.
Yeah.
I like Kim today. I've always liked her, but I mean, like, I really enjoy spending time with her.
Yeah.
And it's made my relationships better because people know who's going to show up.
Yeah.
I'm no longer, I'm not going to be a different Kim for Melissa than I am for my husband or for my kids or for the people at church. You know, I mean, I went to dinner with ladies in a book club at church last night, and, you know, had them, we're a church group meeting in a restaurant, and, you know, like our waitress is talking to us about, you know, well, next time we meet, we should meet at like this topless joint, you know, where they have dancers. And I mean, like, we just had a good time, right? We just had a good time because who cares? Yeah. And I'm not going to be the church lady, right? I mean, like, I'm just there with my friends and we're having fun with the waitress. So, So Kim, who I am today, it's the same Kim who's going to show up for every single person in my life. And that's made my relationships better because there's no doubt. They know my moodiness. They know when I'm sad. They know what, but they know I'm going to pull out of it and who I'm going to be. 99% of the time. Right.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
And it's allowed me to have stronger relationships because they know how to support me. They don't have to guess what I need from them because I'm honest with them now.
Yeah. I love that. So good. So good. All right. Talk to me. We're down to the rapid fire. Name 5 activities that nourish you.
Writing, walking, praying, playing with my grandkiddos. Number 5. Oh, there's so many. Cooking. I love to cook. Even more than I like to eat. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I don't. I wish I did, but I don't. But that's okay. It's okay. I've accepted that. That's one of my layers I've accepted. And my husband's a great cook, so it's all good. All right. 5 words on how you want to feel the next 6 months.
Strong, joy-filled, fulfilled, curious, content.
Very good. All right, my friend. Tell people where they can find you and follow you. And of course, this will all be on our resources page, ladies, at embracinglayers.com. You can find and follow resources there. They're already there, and like our show notes on our YouTube page as well. Multiple ways you can find and hear from Kim. And I invite you to go listen to all those panels that she's been a part of. It's the At Embracing Layers YouTube channel. Go check those out. Go to our video section, find those panels. She's spoken so much wisdom into those as well. But share right now where people can find you and follow you and how you can support
them. Kim Mosiman everywhere on Instagram and Facebook. I post most often there. I offer a semi-inspired or semi-annual, it seems like, inspired blog on my website, Kim Mosiman Wellness. But the best thing about the website is you can reach me anywhere I'm at.
Yeah.
And if you're a writer or you're an author, I'm recently at writer2, the number 2 writer.com, where I'm working with my friend Leah, and we're trying to lift other women up as they try to get their words out into the world. So
Yeah.
that's about it.
That's my favorite
I'm a
new
lot
thing.
of places, but it's very cool.
Yeah, I love that so much. And Kim's on Substack too, and she writes about some of the most thoughtful. It's like one of my favorite things to read. It always makes me think. And it's just, I think it's a season of life I'm into, but she always helps me see things through a lens that really strikes a chord with me. And she's also, stay tuned, somewhere down the road here, maybe by the time this episode drops, we're going to bring her over to our Substack as well and talk more about her books and this writing coaching experience that she has created to help women get their books out in the world. So stay tuned for that. But I always enjoy our visits. I'm so thankful, and I know someday I'm going to have a chance to hug and meet you in person, but I appreciate your time today. You've got a lot going on right now, and I appreciate your willingness to take the time and meet me in this season and have this conversation with me. It's going to be, I always know whatever you have to offer is going to be a blessing to somebody who needs to hear it. And so I appreciate all your
I've loved every minute. I feel like we're so just walking a parallel path and trying to help women out there. So I appreciate your time as well.
All right. Ladies, take good care of yourselves. Find 10 minutes a day for yourself. Whatever season you're in, find 10 minutes a day for yourself. Mamas, if that means you lock yourself in the bathroom, it's all right. You can do that. They're good. If that means a 10-minute shower with the music on, if it means a 10-minute walk around the block, whatever that means, find 10 minutes just for you. And if you're having trouble with that, message me, embracinglayers@gmail.com. Any DM me at Embracing Layers on Instagram. I will help you find that 10 minutes. But that is your challenge.
I love that.
That is your challenge. Take good care of yourselves and have a great week.